Hey guys, so what I'm going to do today is walk you through a simple line drawing working directly from life here. I'm drawing a large leaf and I'm going to show you the steps that I take to complete the drawing. So I begin the drawing working very loose, very light. I'm looking not only at the positive forms of the leaf shape, but at the negative spaces, the spaces in between those fingers of those finger-like leaves that you see there. So I start the drawing. I try not to hang around any one part of my form for too long. I try to just get a general sense of the entire form pretty quickly right in the beginning before moving on to any detailed parts. So I'm looking at one part in relation to another. Try not to focus too much on any one point. At this point, my eyes are kind of almost like a blank stare. I'm just trying to see that whole thing and get as much information about the entire form as I can pretty early on. I'm working loosely and lightly. And I imagine that my pencil is touching the edge of the leaf as I'm drawing it. So this is really important to help you shift into that right brain mode. Imagine that you're touching what you're drawing. Look at the negative spaces instead of the positive forms. So once I've captured the contour, the outside shape of the leaf, I can begin to add a little bit of detail. Now we don't want a lot of detail for this Trace Monotype project. We want to keep it pretty simple, pretty linear. I'm not going to do any shading on this drawing. It's going to stay completely linear. So you don't need any gray in here, just good line work. Now, when I'm doing the bigger, longer lines like that, I move more from my elbow. In other words, I try to keep that wrist fairly loose and make long when I'm making longer strokes. And again, I'm still trying to pretend that my pencil is touching what I'm drawing. And even though we're in the interior of the form now, I'm still looking at places where I might think of them as negative shapes. So you see that the veins of the leaves make kind of a V in between them, and I use those V shapes as well as the shapes of the leaves around the veins to help me see if I can get those forms more accurate. As I start to feel more confident about the shapes that I'm drawing, I'll go in and I'll darken some of those contours a little bit. So you can see on that one leaf, I'm both modifying it. I'm not just tracing over what's already there, but I'm doing some modification while I'm darkening some of the earlier marks that I've made. So oftentimes as a drawing is being developed, it's easy to get a little bit discouraged and to think, oh, this doesn't look any good. It doesn't look anything like what I'm supposed to be doing. That's your left brain, and that's the critical part of our brain, and you really want to turn that off when you're drawing. It's so useful just to get yourself thinking not so much about even what the name of the plant is or what kind of plant it is, but to think of the plant in terms of the shapes that it has, and to say to yourself, if you are a person who talks to yourself as you work, instead of that negative chatter, it doesn't look good, doesn't look anything like what I want, what's a lot more helpful is to say things like, oh, that leaf shape goes down, and then it curves around a bit, and then it pushes up. It's very jagged along its edges here, it's smoother there, and that kind of chatter can be very helpful. But try not to let yourself feel too negative at all about what you're doing. Later on, we have time that's called a critique, and we can go back and analyze the work that we've done. But while we're making the work, we're going to be very generous with ourselves and really just think about what the form is doing and how we can respond to that form. So once you've finished one drawing, then do some more. And plants are amazing to draw. They come in so many different varieties, and it's just so much fun. They're very forgiving. It's okay if you don't get it perfect. Again, these are some of my drawings from my sketches. Some of them are shaded. You don't need to do any shading at all for this. These are heavily shaded. You just want to get a sense of what those contours, what those lines are like, because that's what we need for our Trace Monotype project. So I hope you have a lot of fun drawing plants and enjoy the project.